Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give like another minute or so before we start.
Okay.
Hey, Donna.
Hi.
Just waiting for a couple more people and then we'll start.
Okay.
Hello.
Did anybody already say who should be taking notes?
Haven't even started it yet. Daniela, you are? Okay.
Thanks, Daniela.
Awesome. So I don't think Jeremy is joining us. I don't remember seeing anything from Nicole.
Myself on mute the whole time because I'm going to sneeze a lot. The pollen bomb is killing me.
It's the season. All right, well, maybe we start, and if other people join, we can always catch them up. So, call the meeting to order. And if I remember Benny correctly, Benny, we don't all have to introduce ourselves. I'm just going to go around the room and say who's here. And Daniela, thank you for taking notes. It's super helpful. And it would be great if anyone wouldn't mind volunteering for the next meeting to take notes for our typical meeting, right? Because Daniela's going to help with the treasurer stuff, but it would be great for at least one person to handle the note taking for our next meeting in June. The chair, Eileen Rooney, we have Daniela Nabdelik, we've Benny Wheat, Sherry Oaken, Teresa Aravena Gonzalez, Donna Murphy, and Lindsay Airbrook. Airbrook?
Averbrook, sorry.
See, that's the problem when you never have to say anybody's name out loud, and now you have to say everyone's name out loud, and you're like, why don't you all have the same last name as me?
Mine's impossible on a good day.
So just so everyone knows, closed captioning is on. It's a live transcript as well. Try not to talk over each other for obvious reasons, and the meeting is being recorded. I don't see anyone here for public participation, so we will pass right by that. But the reason that we wanted to pull everyone together was in regards to the Pride event that's happening at the Common. And Benny has been fantastic in trying to search for a couple of ASL translators, and she has found them, which is great. But it's a significant amount of money, and it will take a chunk from our account. And we wanted to just sort of openly talk about that and hear if anybody had any concerns. I think something to think about, whatever we do here, we'll probably want to do with other events in the future. So whatever we sort of agree on, we may need to ask for more funding to handle it in the future. So Benny, do you mind sort of jumping in and talking about the totals and things?
Yeah, so to have ASL interpretation, particularly for music, is more expensive than like regular simultaneous ASL interpretation because the ASL interpreters have to prepare ahead of time. Like they receive the music ahead of time, they practice it. So we have 2 ASL interpreters who are available and excited to do this event. And for both of them total combined, it's going to be like something in the range of $670, which is way more than I thought it was going to be, honestly. When we originally applied for the Arts Council grant, I asked for $1,000. and part of it would go to the musicians and part of it would go to the interpreters. It turns out that if we had gotten that $1,000, it would have been like pretty much exactly the correct amount of money. As it is now, we got $500. So 400 of that is already going to our 2 musicians, and there's only 100 left. So we need to come up with $570. I contacted Steve Mayo because I remember hearing a little birdie told me that Steve Mayo has discretionary funds that he can help us out. Like if we run out of money or we have an event we want to put on but don't have enough to cover it, we should talk to him. And so I emailed him and he was like, you know, I'm looking at your accounts and you have over $1,000 in your revolving account. Why don't you just spend that money? Like, don't come to me if you already have money of your own, basically was his response, which I get. My argument to him was, yes, we have $1,000 and we are putting on all these events all year, any one of which could cost over $1,000. So like, if we use it all right now, we're going to be out of money. Although, like, you know, granted, in 30 days, we're going to have our like annual budget replenished, that $1,000 also. Anyway, so he was like, I get it. If you run out of money, come to me then and let's talk about it. And maybe I can provide you with additional funds. And also he said, let's talk about for next year, making the argument to reevaluate the HRC's budget, which sounds exciting. I don't know if that means we'll get like $100 more or if we'll get like a ton of, I don't know how much money we'll get. So in order to have the interpreters, his like preference, I think, would be for us to just pay for it. I feel weird about it because we already got this grant, $500, all of which is going towards this event. Plus we're going to take $500 more out of our account. Like, I just feel weird with that much resources going to one event when we have all these other events that are under-resourced. I did reach out to the Disability Commission to ask them, because like the town has a budget for providing accessibility to their events. You know, that's how they paid for the CART interpreters at town meeting and things like that. And so I reached out to the Disability Commission and told them this whole story and told them that Steve Mayo like basically already told us no, and that we do in fact have a budget, yes. And what do they think? Like, is this something that we would reasonably be able to request from the town to pay for? And they said yes, but they were like, yes, I think this is something the town should pay for. Also, do you have a budget? And I was like, yeah, yes, we do have a budget. So, and I told them that, and I was like, what do you think? Like, considering the fact that we do have a budget, do you think this would still be could this request fly or not? And they didn't respond yet to that. So, yeah, this event, this Pride concert will happen before our next actual regular HRC meeting. So if we want to spend the money, we have to figure it out. So I don't know, what are your all thoughts?
Go ahead, Sherry.
Hi there. We are I applaud the sentiment of this. I agree with the sentiment, but have you done a cost benefit analysis? How many people actually will take advantage of this for the enormous amount of money we spend out of our very, very limited resources? Because I think that's very important for us to consider. Cost benefit analysis. I know that sounds really corporate, but I think it's important. Even though like our heart's in the right place, we are this tiny little group. And I'm not so sure the town is going to be excited about putting a lot of cash into something that doesn't get this big return on investment. Like, you know, a lot of people show up who need these services. No one could show up. So I have great hesitations moving ahead with this. Even though like I said, I agree with the sentiment. It's just that we're not in that position.
One thing I will say is I talked to somebody who is like very connected to the deaf and hard of hearing community in this area. And I was asking her about this. I was like, before we like embarked on this plan, I was like, do you think that anyone would come? And she said that it was kind of a chicken and the egg thing, because since town events typically are not accessible to people who are deaf or hard of hearing, like, yes, you can request an accommodation, but if you're just going to like a fun thing in town, are you really going to request an accommodation for like Plaza Jazz or for, you know? So because the town does not just kind of provide this as a matter of like equal access for all, deaf and hard of hearing folks do not come to these events. And so she's like, if you provide interpretation, then you can advertise within the deaf and hard of hearing community, and then they will come. But it's like, unless you have interpreters, like you can't do anyway. So I don't know how many people will come. It could be none, it could be one, it could be 10, it could be, who knows?
Go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh,
Go ahead, Teresa, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I was going to say the same thing. It's like, if we don't provide it, then I don't think we would ever know. And I mean, I love the idea. I totally understand money. It's definitely not, we don't have that much of it. And I know it's definitely cost a lot of money to do that, any event. But I also agree with the fact that if we're not the group to try it, or at least to offer it, then, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like it's almost like we should try to, I mean, how nice would it be to just have that, you know, even standard going forward. I mean, I know, I mean, obviously if we do it for this, like, we probably kind of have to think about doing it for other events, because that's who we're going to become, kind of like, you know, but yeah, no, I mean, I think we should definitely try it.
I know you referenced people from the community in our area, but how many actually are Wakefield? Because that's, you know, we're the town of Wakefield's Human Rights Commission.
I have not done a survey of how many people are deaf in the town of Wakefield.
I think that will be the harder part, right? And I think, to Teresa's point, like, if there's going to be a place to, if there's going to be a group that's going to try this is the group, right? I see that. And maybe there's an opportunity, like, at the event to see if there are, you know, individuals that are sort of enjoying this aspect of the event. And maybe there's also a chance for us to invite, you know, different groups throughout, not just Wakefield, but maybe North Shore, that would be interested in coming to celebrate Pride and know that there will be an ASL interpreter. The other thing is, like, if we never try it, we don't know that it's ever going to work. And let's say we do it and, like, look, it's a total bust, and good on us for trying it and it didn't work, and then we never do it again. But we won't know that unless we give it a shot. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi. I definitely can see both sides of this, where I would agree that, well, we may not get a huge amount of people. I do think this is, I mean, where else would we try this? If not here, then where, I guess. And I think, you know, agreed. I don't think this necessarily sets a precedence for all other events. I think that can sound like a lot and extremely expensive. I think it's worth trying. And if it doesn't work, we're trying it at least. I think it's worth trying at the very least. And even if we just do it, you know, one or a few times, you know, it is something that we can, you know, hopefully offer, you know, out not just to Wakefield residents, but, you know, the greater community. And I know that we're the Human Rights Commission of Wakefield, but I mean, I think it would be helpful where it's not as huge a demographic to at least have areas be able to access, you know, these events if they want to, right?
Sorry, quick question. Who is Family Network? Is that a public participation or?
I don't know.
No? Okay. All right. Well, welcome, Family Network. And the other thing I wanted us to just be thinking about.
Sorry, Family Network is Nicole. Sorry.
Oh, hi, Nicole.
Sorry.
Oh, all right, good. All right. Something else to think about, not all of our events have been live, right? And of course, like, we want to do more live events, but there are some that maybe will still continue to be remote, right? Because we work with WCAT, and, like, maybe the panels could be remote in some ways, and they already offer closed captioning, and there is, you know, a live transcript for that too. And so not, you know, I know at the beginning I was like, if whatever we do here, we'll have to do everywhere. We may not have to do for every single event, depending on what the kind of event is. And maybe this is budgeted in depending on the size, right? Like, you know, Hispanic Heritage Month, like, maybe that makes sense because it is a large outdoor event, but not all of it, right? Like, some of it, and maybe the price is different for those different things. I don't know. I'll stop talking. Anyone else? Go ahead, Donna.
Danielle,
Just
Oh,
because
sorry.
I've had my hand up for like the last 12 speakers.
I am so sorry,
sorry.
Daniela. Go ahead.
It's difficult for me to type and then also speak, so I'm just trying to make sure. So in my professional line of work, I am a co-lead for an employee resource group in my company for about 22,000 employees in our continent. And it's an ERG for people with disabilities, seen and unseen, and their allies. And I can tell you all the business facts. I can sit here and do a cost benefit analysis. I do not think that's an appropriate thing for the Human Rights Commission to state, oh, it wasn't worth enough money to be inclusive. Accessibility should be the standard. If we want to be actually inclusive, if we want to preach this community is inclusive, we have to walk the walk. Otherwise, what are we actually doing? And I'm saying this passionately because I'm hearing these things that, yeah, I hear it, but at the same time, this should be something that is offered. The disability community is the largest minority group in the entire world. And the fact that we are not serving them as a town, and this has come to us in another meeting, I think it was early last year before a town meeting, someone was asking for the town meetings to be more accessible. They were being told no, they were having struggles. They came to us. Like, we know this is an issue. So I think that if we set this as a standard and maybe we foot the bill at first, it's gonna rub off and we may not get the entirety of the disability community from Wakefield and surrounding towns in the first event. But if we build it, they will come. And it's fair to say that it's really unfair to put the request on the people with disabilities. It's sometimes embarrassing. We're discouraged. I mean, this is something that I've had to deal with in my professional life. I don't want to sit there and check a box that I have a disability. I don't want to sit there with my manager and be like, I need this accommodation to be able to fully perform to the best of my capabilities. So I don't think that we should have our local neighbors who are either capital D deaf, lowercase d deaf, or hard of hearing have to be the ones to say, hey, I need this, because the fact of the matter is generally for an hour-long event or an hour-long interpretation, there does need to be two people who are doing sign language interpreting. And that can cost anywhere from an average of $400. And this, as Benny had mentioned, music takes a lot more time, and they are also kind of in the groove. So it takes a little bit more from them to really be able to translate that to the community. So it's worth a cost, but I think a real question here is, how can we make this happen? And Sherry's point is, we don't have that much of a budget. And where can this come from? So I'm hoping, Benny, that they get back to you and say this would be realistic for us to ask of the town. I'm also prepared to make a business case for when we redo our budget and say, these are the events that we throw. This is the cost for each event. Now, if we were to tack on sign language interpreters for all those events, this is the budget that we would need. I think that's going to be something that we might battle, but as the treasurer, I'm ready to do that. I've done that before. And it's just, what kind of standard do we want to set? Do we want to set, is the money worth it? Or do we want to set inclusivity and accessibility is the standard? Donna, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Donna.
You know what? I just wanted to ask about the budget process, because as I'm new to this, so correct me if I'm wrong, there was a $500 grant for this event, and we have a $1,000 budget that really ends in 30 days, and then we get another $1,000. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, there's like
The new budget has begun.
Yeah, there's two
Maybe.
pots of money. Our annual budget that we get from the town is $1,000. That starts on July 1. We've already spent all of that money, so that money is gone.
Okay.
we also have this like weird money that's like a holdover from like, I don't even know where it came from. And that money is also held in an account at the town, but it's not part of the town's annual budgeting process. It's just ours. We can spend it when we sell the Hate Has No Home Here signs. That money goes to replenish this account. So it's called the revolving account. Okay. That's the account that currently has like, I don't know, $1,100 in it or something.
Yeah, it has. So we got an email Tuesday. The revolving account has a balance of $1,455, but we had a negative balance from the other account of $278. So it actually brought us to like $1,177 or something like that.
And when you say the budget first, that's on July 1st, the money is already, that's because the events are planned and the money will already be spent on those, or that money's gone already? Do you know what I'm saying? I guess I'm not clear on, we already have allocated money for the events and that's where the $1,000 has gone?
No, so, and Benny, tell me if this is right. Have we ever provided like a budget? I think the answer is no, right? A budgeted list of all of our events for every year and what we've spent, right? That was Sherry's point, the last few. So we're given $1,000 every year because that, you know, we've just sort of lived within that. But Daniela is trying to say, like, to be able to pull all of that together and like show them we actually need $2,000 or whatever it is to account for all of that. Go ahead, Sherry.
The other thing is we have, and it's not that I'm saying it's not worth it. I'm just trying to be realistic because of the nature of our group. I thought our budget began on May 1st. If it's July 1, we're already in the red because Juneteenth is a $250 event. And I don't know if there's also cost with our flag raising on July 1. So we've already spent, I would say, you know, a good portion of that, little bit of $1,000 we get on July 1. But in fact, the Juneteenth 250 is going to have to come out of our revolving account.
This would also, right? I mean, this would also have to come out of our revolving account at this point as well. So that's 250 plus the 486. What is it, Benny?
Yeah, it's like 570 and change.
Okay.
So that's almost all of our monies. The revolving account is sometimes the recipient of donations from people. And in that case, we have to bring it before the town and they say, sure, you can put it in your revolving account. So, but last year, that's how we were able to put on the Hispanic Heritage event because Teresa's contacts and family were incredibly generous to us. Otherwise, we couldn't have done it.
There was a question, Benny, I thought about fundraising, where there was a comment about us doing fundraising, and then Danielle and I were like, I thought you couldn't do any fundraising. Oh, you're muted.
We can't do any direct solicitation. We can accept monies, but we can't do any direct solicitations for funds. Nor can we make donations because we wanted to make a donation to WCAT and we couldn't do that either.
Right.
Yeah. Steve Mayo is the person who brought this up. He said something about fundraising and I was like, that's what I said. I was like, can we do fundraising, Steve? What he said was, okay. We may want to revisit the amount of your annual budget and or consider replenishing the revolving account through sales or donations. And so I asked him, I was like, can we fundraise? Because otherwise, like we have gotten donations before. Last year, we got a donation of $46. You know, that's not really like a realistic source of funds for the HRC, but that's what he said. He said through sales or donations. So it sounds to me like, and I didn't like really explore it with him. I asked him about that question of fundraising and he said, I don't use the word fundraise, but I think that being more proactive in requesting donations and reaching out to the local banks for donations is a good start. Perhaps t-shirt sales. So he doesn't use the word fundraising, but he does say asking for donations. So I like don't know what the difference is between those two things. I would be interested in having a more detailed conversation, or maybe Danielle, maybe that's your realm or something, to have a conversation with Steve about like, what really are we allowed to do and not do? Because yeah, like asking for something from the Savings Bank Foundation, like that sounds like a great plan. There could be various untapped resources.
I mean, wouldn't that would solve our problem? You know, it's like 5 banks in town, just on Main Street. I mean, could we ask them all?
They're pretty generous, actually.
Yeah, they've been great to other organizations. So,
right.
Benny, do you want to flip that email to maybe me and Daniela, or me, Sherry and Daniela, and we can kind of go to Steve to say like, we're thinking about doing this?
Yeah, I think clear guidance on that would be great, because I mean, that would change how probably we can organize things, right?
Certainly change how we view this dollar amount too. So I'm not 100% sure what we're voting on right now. Are we voting to use the money from our revolving account to pay for the ASL interpreter? Or are we waiting until we have another conversation with Steve Mayo?
No, I think because of the event, right? Because of how soon it is, we kind of have to make a decision. I feel like we have to kind of do that today.
Okay.
Yeah, we could make a decision today, but say sort of like, what's the word, you know, like contingent upon, like if you do have another more detailed conversation with Steve and somehow convince him to pay for it out of like the town's ADA budget, great, then we don't have to spend the money. But now will be our only opportunity to really choose to spend the funds should we need to.
Right.
Great. Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that the HRC votes to spend, hold on, let me find the exact dollar amount. This probably would be helpful information. Hold on, stand by. Please play the hold music. So the quote that I got, was for $671.30. We have $100 still left in our grant from the Arts Council. So the amount of money we need is $571.30. So I make a motion that we pay the $571.30 for ASL interpretation at the Pride concert out of our revolving fund, unless after further conversations with Steve Mayo, there's some other funding source available.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, either one.
Okay.
Do we do any discussion before we do a final vote?
Sure.
I just think that we need to do a lot more research before we move ahead.
When you say research, do you mean research into funds? Do you mean research
into yes, in how we're allowed to get funding? Also, you know, there might be organizations that for groups like us would provide an ASL translator at no cost, someone who would volunteer and donate their time. You know, we haven't looked into that either.
I will say
we haven't contacted that association, and I bet there are people who donate their time to good things like this. Actually, I have a friend who, if she didn't move to New Orleans, she would do it, but she moved to New Orleans, so she can't do it.
I will say Benny reached out to what, 40?
Like 110 interpreters.
which is a huge number. And unfortunately, no one volunteered.
Well, sometimes it's how you ask. No.
Oh, and I'm sure Benny handled it really well.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Daniela, what do you say?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
Sherry?
Abstain.
Benny?
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And me is yes. Okay. What's the next steps? how do we pay them, Benny?
I think that we will actually pay them after. So they've sent me a quote, but I think after they'll send an invoice. Okay. And then we pay. I mean, I think we have to do it the way we do anything else. I'm fine fronting the money like I would pay and then be reimbursed by the town.
Okay, if we needed to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for doing this with us. I know it's a lot of money, but I think it's going to be really important and great. Any matters not anticipated?
I don't know if action items count.
Should we do that after?
Okay.
I talked to Daniela about this. I actually spent $39 on the APAH program because one of our maps completely came apart. So I had to have it reproduced, and this time I had it laminated. I didn't cheap out, so this way we will always have it in the future. So I put in for a $39 reimbursement with my discount that I get from Staples.
That's awesome. That's great.
So I hope that's okay because I didn't ask for permission first. It's just a small amount of money, but time was of the essence to pull that program together so quickly.
That makes sense. It's nice to have it for a long period of time too.
Yeah. Oh, I have another question. I have some stuff that I would like to store in the storage the town will provide to us. The big plastic bag with the Jeopardy and the maps and all the stuff that goes along with the Jeopardy and the maps. And I was wondering what the procedure was for that.
Fantastic question that I do not know the answer to.
I know that Steve Mayo said that he would, I'll get in touch with Steve. Would you like me to? Okay, I'll get in touch with Steve about that because I really, this giant black plastic bag of stuff keeps moving from my car to my house to my office and back and forth. And I would like to put it in Maria's basement, and I'd like to put it somewhere central so any of you who need it can have access to it during business hours.
That'd be great. Thank you, Sherry.
I'll talk to Steve.
Would
clear up my sizes.
One other thing for the next meeting, would someone mind volunteering to take notes for the next meeting? Benny, thank you. And maybe that's just how we'll handle it meeting by meeting. At the end, I'll just add it to the agenda of someone picking for the next meeting. That'd be great.
I'm going to take a few months break after just having done all these months meeting
that makes sense.
But then I'll be happy to step in again.
Okay, Daniela, did you have action items?
Yes, so Benny to forward that email chain to Eileen, Sherry, and Daniela so we can confirm whether or not we can ask banks for donations or how about to go around that being more extra progressive. Sherry will ask Steve Mayo on how we can store items in the physical storage. And Benny is going to arrange the payment to the ASL interpreters. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Okay, so I don't remember how to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Seconded.
Ask us to vote on this.
All right, go ahead, Daniela.
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Benny?
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
And me and my first meeting, how'd I do? Yay! I didn't break anything.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay.
Nice job.
Thank you very much. And before tomorrow, don't forget, it is the Pride flag raising. We're super excited. We'll see you at 6. Happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah, bring a raincoat.
Well, let's hope
Bring your raincoat.
it rained last year too. Let's hope that this year it holds off until after 6.
Rain brings rainbows.
Maybe
so
we'll have a rainbow.
Fitting.
Yeah.
Fitting.
I mean,
and
we'll
humans
definitely
don't
have
melt, so
several
I
rainbows.
agree, Eileen.
Humans
Rainbows.
don't melt.
Yeah, it
Humans
just
do not melt.
discourages people sometimes from coming out.
Yeah.
No, it'll be great.
Yeah.
All right, bye,
We'll
everybody.
bring them in.
Good evening.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.